Good afternoon. I am Cadet Second Class Rebecca Collins. It's my privilege to welcome you to this 31st Annual National Character and Leadership Symposium presentation. I'm honored to introduce our speaker for this session, Miss America 2024, Second Lieutenant Madison Marsh, USAFA Class of 2023. Second Lieutenant Marsh is a beacon of inspiration and service, a proud graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy, currently pursuing her graduate studies at Harvard. As you probably know, Lieutenant Marsh recently made history as Miss America 2024. She's the first active duty military member to claim this prestigious title. Following her mother's passing from pancreatic cancer in 2018, she founded the Whitney Marsh Foundation with her family. As the president and founder, she has spearheaded the efforts that have raised over $250,000 for pancreatic cancer research. Not content with conventional boundaries, she's also dedicated herself to cutting-edge medical research. As a graduate intern at Harvard Medical School, she harnesses the power of artificial intelligence to develop more effective methods for early detection of pancreatic cancer, offering hope for improved patient outcomes. In recognition of her exceptional leadership and academic achievements, Lieutenant Marsh was awarded the National Truman Scholarship, which supports her pursuit of a master's degree in public policy at the Harvard Kennedy School. With her remarkable blend of dedication, compassion, and innovation, Lieutenant Marsh embodies the highest ideals of service and scholarship. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss America 2024, Second Lieutenant Madison Marsh, and our moderator, Cadet First Class Brockton Leitner.
Hi, Maddie. Thank you for coming and visiting us today and sharing your wisdom with us during NCLS. First and foremost, I want to say that I think that this is probably a big full circle moment for you since you've been a cadet here the last 4 years, and now you're finally able to be on the stage. Looking back, can you share some of the most rewarding experiences you were able to have as a cadet?
I think there are so many because the entire 4 years there is trying to prepare you for moments like this. And I think a very pivotal moment for me, I remember my freshman year in CLS, one of the first speakers that I got to listen to was Ishmael Bea, and he was a child soldier. And being a freshman, it's so easy to get in your head and be very negative. But listening to his story of overcoming and being truthful to himself and passionate and positive, it was a big wake-up moment for me as a freshman thinking, oh my gosh, life could be so much worse, and I need to be here and be present to put in the work for the people around me. And so I think that was a very pivotal moment, and now getting to share my story is so incredible, especially with you now that we've gotten to be in 2 squadrons together.
Thank you for that. More recently, we've heard a lot of family and friends give praise to you through the term #DoBoth. Since a lot of us in this room are military, can you explain some of the military values and principles that you used during your time as Miss America?
You know, I think a lot of people see pageants, and specifically Miss America, as a very obvious stereotype. And same with military women receive those stereotypes as well. And so being able to break both of those and do both, that's what that means. And for me, I see all of the beautiful ways that the military and Miss America overlaps with one another. One, through scholarship, going to the Air Force Academy, having all of your education paid for. Now that I've won Miss America, I've received $70,000 in scholarship money to ensure that I can go back and get more degrees. You pour into your leadership. The leadership as a cadet has prepared me to lead as Miss America. And then also that service portion. We serve in a very obvious way by putting on the uniform, serving our country, but as Miss America, I can go out and serve my community through my nonprofit in honor of my mom. And so it's so important to educate people on both of these ways that they really beautifully intertwine with one another so I can serve in both roles at once.
I'd definitely like to touch on the foundation that you've started, the Whitney Marsh Foundation, and how you've publicly stated that your mother, Whitney Marsh, is one of the biggest and greatest motivations that you have to live through your life. Can you please touch on more about the Whitney Marsh Foundation, along with what has made you go above and beyond to create the foundation itself?
So my mom was 41 years old when she passed away. She was misdiagnosed for about 2 years. And we had no cancer history in our family. She wasn't in any of the risk groups, so it was a very big shock when she was diagnosed. And I watched, my biggest role model go from being a huge athlete in running and biking to someone that couldn't do that anymore. And it had opened up my eyes of how important life is. Getting to have this little moment here together, getting to be in this room and waking up today, we are so fortunate. And so that's why we started the Whitney Marsh Foundation. We want to remember my mom for who she was and not what pancreatic cancer had made her. And so about 2 weeks after she passed, my brothers forced me to leave my house and made me go to the gym, and I did not want to work out. So I went and I sat back in the girls' locker room and was just thinking, how can I make my mom's life worth it, because she doesn't get to be here and I have the opportunity to still be. And that's where this idea of the Whitney Marsh Foundation had started. And like I said, she was a big runner. Even when she was going through chemo treatment, my mom was so crazy that she would still go run like 10 miles. That was the type of person that she was. And so every year we do a 5K, 10K to raise money for pancreatic cancer. And since our start, we've raised around $300,000, and so we've been able to pour into research, bring in people from MD Anderson to go talk to people in Fort Smith, Arkansas, to educate them as physicians. And then now this past year, we got to take people that are below the poverty line in our town and be able to pay for their early detection treatment, and because we don't want to leave people behind. I don't want financial barriers or other barriers to cause patients to not get the same level of care. And so we're super excited. We've got a lot of things opening up this year that I can't share yet, but I'm very excited for where our nonprofit's headed.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being vulnerable with that answer and sharing your experience with us. Speaking more on experience, it's widely known that cadets navigate a bunch of obstacles during their life here as a cadet, and because it's such the early start of their career. Given your experiences, what strategies did you find the most effective to rely on overcoming these challenges while you were a cadet?
I think a big one that you have to balance, I always say as a cadet, they give you like 36 hours of work and you have 24 hours to get it done. And I think that was the biggest piece of just that time management, because at first, honestly, my freshman year and kind of my sophomore year, I had just hyper-focused on school. I gave no time to my personal life, to going and leaving to be with my friends, and I really think that damaged a little bit of my experience because I didn't allow myself to be a person. And it took a cadet who's now my fiance to kind of wake me up and say, you really need to be focusing on other things that are important in life and making sure that you have boundaries at night to read a book, go out with your friends. And I think once I had done that, it had really turned my life and my cadet experience around. And so that's a big thing. And also just putting things in perspective. Watching my mom go through what she did has opened up my eyes now of how lucky we are every day. There's so many little things that we can get frustrated about, like someone getting your coffee order wrong, or you're stuck in traffic, or maybe you're having a tough time with your kids that day, and it's okay to be upset about those things, but also putting it in perspective, especially as a cadet, about the bigger world and how we can try to make ourselves work towards positivity and impacting people in a better way.
Fighting against all this negativity that a whole bunch of cadets experience while we're here, we both know, we've both been through it, that cadets have a very negative mindset that shares, it's almost part of our culture. I kind of want to transition into a different type of culture, the culture between pageants and military. Can you explain, is there a big difference between pageantry and military, or is there a surprising amount of things that can go hand in hand together?
Well, there are some obvious things. I'm not getting yelled at when I go and compete in pageants. So, that's obviously a big thing. But I think the core values of what at least I cared about as a cadet and in the Miss America opportunity are very similar. The friendships and the family that I've formed with cadets. I've been in 2 squads with you. I'm seeing my fiance's little sister right here in the first row, who's now a freshman. And some of the other cadets that I've gotten to be here with, those are my family that I've gotten to form. And the same as with the Miss America opportunity. I've got 35 of my sisters flying out here tomorrow so I can show them my second home. And I think that's such a beautiful thing of people see on the outside they try to say that pageants are very shallow, but all of the women that I competed with at Miss America are some of the most driven, intelligent, and talented young women that I have ever met, and that's how I feel about cadets. And so people try to say the cultures are very different, but I've never met such forward-thinking, passionate, and loving people.
So going along with this, I know there's a lot of positivity and support systems that you have going around. I kind of want to touch on more of a, I would say, open subject. It's a little more truthful, because I know that everything isn't always perfect, even if we would love for it to be that way, and that's human nature, so there's nothing wrong with it. I want to know if there's a time that you can recall that like you experienced doubt or fear about your future, or like what you might be able to do, or if there's a specific thing that like you have felt fear or doubt about going towards the next step in your career.
Oh, I mean, I feel like from the very first moment at the academy, I'd felt a lot of fear, but thinking back for my entire experience, I mean, I had such a hard time leaving behind some of these dreams that I had made for myself. For a long time, for like over 9 years, I wanted to be an astronaut, and I had this like 20-year crazy plan of everything that I was going to do each year to make it happen. And as I had kind of gone through my cadet experience, I had started to realize that's not really where my heart was anymore, and that made me very scared, because I had kind of cornered myself for 8 years on this one very specific dream. And now I'm 22, trying to navigate and figure out all of these different passions that I might have. Like, I love pancreatic cancer. How can I bring that into my role as Miss America? And how can I also bring everything that the Air Force has given me into this position? And so that was a big fear and kind of wake-up moment that I've had, and just navigating that with the people around me.
What was some of the best ways that you were able to navigate that, specifically for you? Because I know every cadet has to do it in their own ways. What were some of the things that you were able to do that helped you along the way?
Just leaning on the people around me. I know we hear that all the time as cadets, but it is so important. And I think back to my, entering basic. My mom had passed away 9 months prior, so I basically left my hometown. I didn't come out here with any friends, any family. I was grieving, and from the first moment, like my first day in basic, I tried to go home and quit. And my dad said, if I quit, I couldn't come home, so I had to stay. And it kind of was like that for almost all of basic, trying to force myself to stay. Freshman year, I promised myself I'd make it through basic, and then I could make that decision. And basically the first half of my freshman year, I was trying to transfer, and that was so difficult for me until I had found my first person, which was Dr. Anderson. He was he now still is a physics professor, and he had got me into the department, and it was that one person that had started this long trickle of people of making the academy slowly better. I'd met him, then I started to meet all of my wonderful friends in the physics department. Then now that I had that community, I could expand even more. And all of the people that I had met there and gotten to rely on, I mean, I don't know if Dr. Anderson's out here, but I've spent plenty of hours crying in his office, whether it was about physics or academy life or just personal things, and those are the people that you get to rely on here. And that's what you need to pour into as a cadet, being vulnerable, because those are going to be your family and friends that last way beyond your cadet experience.
Do you think some of these experiences and support systems is something that you highly recommend to someone who's a cadet that's struggling right now? Because I know a lot of us, we all have different schedules and can't always see our friends that we would like. I'm kind of tailoring towards what would you recommend to someone who needs to seek help right now? Is it find that mentor? Is it find that friend group? Is it find that activity that they really love doing? Or is there something else that you would recommend?
I mean, there are so many things. I'll be very vulnerable. So my freshman year, I had struggled a lot with mental health after losing my mom, and it was very difficult for me to feel comfortable to come forward and go seek help, whether that be going to a chaplain, going to therapy, or just telling my friends. And I think once I had finally felt okay enough to go take my first step and go sit with a chaplain and kind of tell them about what I was struggling with. And then once I had felt that was okay, then I could start to tell my friends that I wasn't okay. And those little steps are what made me be able to graduate. I mean, it's those little things, taking care of yourself. It is so, so, so important. And I would not have ever graduated if I had not done that, if I had not poured into the people around me. I really think that is a crux of the academy. You have to be able to lean on others when you're feeling down, and then when you're up, you're lifting those same people up beside you. And that's how you make it through here and how you make it through life.
Thank you so much for that. It's
thank you.
super, super big. I remember in our first squadron together in 16, we did a lot of volunteer stuff together. And then also whenever we were in 7, first, thank you so much for getting my foot in the door of volunteering and everything like that. I've since been trying to volunteer a lot. One of my consulting classes right now, we get to go to a program that helps people get their foot in the door of doing horsemanship. I want to ask, what was it like to you to try to find all these places to volunteer for? Was your drive everything that you've already started before you came here, or did the drive come from somewhere else? And what do these volunteer experiences that you've been doing even more recently have to do with your career?
You know, I think it was really just an outlet for me, because I am a firm believer how important it is to serve outside of your uniform in your community. Because as cadets, I think it's so easy to just believe your life is only within the black gates here, and that's it. And so being able to take some of our squad mates like yourself to go play with some of the rescue dogs, or maybe one of the things that we did is we went to a shelter that housed women that had experienced domestic violence, and cleaning up all these different things that if people, maybe they don't like dogs, well, we'll go find another volunteer activity. And so that's something that we can connect with one another with to make sure when our cup is full, we're filling up someone else's that might need it. And it was such a beautiful thing that I really hope was passed along from my mom, that she had taught me, now hopefully to more people in 7 or wherever everyone else has gone, cadets that I've gotten to volunteer with, because I really do think it is so important. And it's just a good way to relax and not be in so much cadet mode and be able to give back to someone else.
I definitely agree. Thank you for that. So I would say, being Miss America, you're also kind of a public servant in a way that we are in the military, where we're both giving sacrifice in a lot of different ways. My next question is, being in this role as Miss America, what is something that you want, you have a national audience now, what is something that you want to share on the national level for any type of culture or age group or anything like that? Is there a specific thing that is really a driving point that you have?
Kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, walking away from this dream of being an astronaut, is that you have to do what you love. And seeing that my mom had her life cut short at 41 years, every day, every moment that I have is a moment that she doesn't get to have, or someone else. And so it's so important that you don't waste any time ever doing something that you don't love, or you're only going to go 50% at because you don't really care about it. That's not doing you a service or the people that you can impact by doing things that you love. And so that's why once I had this light kind of switch on about, I love doing pancreatic cancer work, I love telling people about my mom's story, that's whenever I was able to go 100% full force to give back to people, and that's when I saw much more that I could give to other people. So just doing what you love, not second guessing it. Every moment that you do something that you don't love, it's a moment that could be wasted and better spent doing something that someone else might not get to be here doing anymore.
For all these people that we all serve, and we all have our reason why we serve, my next question kind of goes into along those lines as well. Do you believe that people's drive for serving should change over time, or do you think that is kind of a static situation?
I think it's highly dependent on the situation and the person, because I joined for very different reasons from why I'm still here today. Astronaut was on my mind, and then as I moved through a cadet life, I had kind of seen how important it is of all these external reasons of how much we can be giving back to our country, other countries that rely on us and need us to give our good faith and to give our services to them. And that's why I want to put on the uniform, because there are so many people that I sit out here with, all of you in the audience today, whether or not you've been one of my squad mates or not, getting to represent you, keeping one another safe, because we have the ability to do so, because we have the ability to serve. We can't wait on some other person or some other time to get stuff done, so we need to do it now. And it's really just dependent on what drives you, because I would never want to place those words in someone else's mouth.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that. More towards you specifically now. What is like some of the biggest driving factors that you have back home as your support system right now? If you'd be willing to share about them or anything.
I mean, I got a lot of people over, which I'm very grateful for. My fiance's been such a big piece of my life. I met him as a freshman here. We were both dualies, and we just got engaged recently, and so he's been a very big help of keeping me on track with things that keep me passionate, and keeping my eyes open to all the other opportunities in front of me. I've got my dad back home in Arkansas. He's been loving all this. He made a sash for himself that says Father America for all of our family members. He made it for my soon-to-be mother-in-law, my aunt, my fiance, I mean anybody. Y'all might get your own, honestly. So he's been awesome. My Aunt Mel, all of my siblings. I mean, there's just so many people that I know I could pick up the phone and call when I'm having a rough day, and they don't even have to be family. I mean, my cadets, I went and hung out with my freshman year roommate last night, Faith, and I'm now her bridesmaid, and there's just so many different beautiful things and walks of life that I've gotten to experience because of the military and outside as well.
That is a very good point, actually. Next, I want to talk about how we mentioned before how this isn't quite a full circle because you were just here sitting in this audience just like last year alone.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that, of course. But my next thing is, where do you see another, like a bigger, fuller circle coming around? Like, what would be that one moment where, like, you're just waiting for that to come around and be there again?
Oh, probably when Nana graduates. Sorry to point you out. This is Walker's little sister, and I think getting to watch her enter basic this year and watching like fully from an outside perspective, like I'm not a cadet anymore, and we can support her and watch all of the little years and all of the small things that we don't even remember and didn't catch as cadets. It's going to be such a big day when she gets to walk across the stage and throw up her hat, and that'll be a full circle moment for me and my entire family, just watching someone that I really love go through this experience with us, watching her and having her back.
That's amazing, actually. So next, to tailor into more of us, or I guess as you as a graduate, me to be soon to be graduate, are you going to come back to a lot of the football games and support?
We've already got on the schedule. I know we're going Army, Air Force, Air Force, Navy. I don't know what else. I'm open. I'd love to come watch.
Well, sounds good. Then I'll see you there. Hopefully, we can finally beat Army again, but I didn't say that. Another thing I would love to talk about is more of just like the upbringing that people are going to be looking forward to you. There's a bunch of young people that have seen like your story and heard of your story, and they look up to you just as a figure, just in general, just to be there. So everyone looks up to you coming up. I wonder if you have any words of advice for someone who might want to put their foot in the door in the military, whether it's come here as a cadet or enlist or anything like that. Is there any words of advice you might have for them?
I mean, there's a lot. I would say, I think a lot of people have this misconception about the military that you have to give up a lot of your personal life and things you love to wear the uniform. For example, like you can't be feminine and serve at the same time, which I just don't agree with. And I think being able to break it in that way, or showing to people, I mean, there's some people that don't even know that you can come play D1 sports at the academy, or you can still be a singer, you can play an instrument. I mean, all of these things that people think you have to give up to still serve, but understanding that your personality is what makes our armed forces so amazing. All of your talents, all the things that you love, bringing those to the table is something that we love and I love to see in the people that I get to lead and lead alongside. And just knowing that you can do both in whatever sense that that means to you. You don't have to come join the Miss America opportunity, even though I wish y'all would, but you can do both in different ways. You can do many things and still serve passionately and lead all of the people around you and not have to give up all of the side things that you care about.
Speaking more on this opportunity that you were able to achieve as Miss America. I know there's a lot of different opportunities that you may be aware of as a cadet or even right after. I was wondering if you can touch on some of the things that a lot of us may not know about that you were able to experience and that actually helped you through your career so far.
Ooh, okay, scholarships. For all of the cadets in here, you should be applying to every single scholarship opportunity or any opportunity that comes your way. Because whenever I started out as a freshman, there were lots of things like, I never would have thought I would have become a Truman Scholar, but I stepped into that role that might have been a little bit scary, and I put in all of the effort towards that. So just taking every opportunity that the Academy gives you, because you will have so many that you're not going to even be able to do all of them at once. But just going for whatever you can is so important. And I think another big aspect of at least the scholarship part, because that was a very large part of my Academy experience, was just going through those processes every single year. And a big thing that I don't think people really pay enough attention to or go to is the public speaking lab. I spent an insane amount of time there having them walk me through every political question, life question, curveballs, random stuff to just talk about to ensure that I could, portray myself once I got to these scholarship interviews, not just for the sake of getting the scholarship, but for the rest of my life. And I think that public speaking aspect is such a large skill, and they really pour into you down there. It's near the QRC if anyone wants to go sign up afterwards. And they were really just a phenomenal part of my experience that I wouldn't have traded for anything.
Speaking more of these opportunities and everything like that, do you believe that the Air Force Academy offers a lot more opportunities than what someone may visit or receive in an outside institution, whatever university, doesn't have to be a specific one? Do you think there's something special about this place that you would like to share with the audience or everyone else who is watching?
I obviously am biased. I do think the Academy is so special, and I can only speak from some of my personal experiences, like the scholarships. We have some of the best preparation teams out of anywhere else. I mean, we're cranking out these scholars every single year, and that's because the Academy knows how to pour into these kids, and because they're picking the right students like yourselves to be prepared for these opportunities. I never would have gotten to go to Harvard without the Air Force Academy. I never would have gotten the Truman Scholarship without the Air Force Academy. All of these little things, I never would have had the opportunity to even dream of doing it without coming to this school. And so I feel so fortunate and just happy to be back here every day, knowing what they had given me, and now having the opportunity to give back and to spread that good message to bring more amazing cadets in.
So for someone who's right on the fence right now, what would you want to say to them if they're considering like any military academy or even university, if they're on the fence of trying to take that next step in their career or in their education, what would you tell them right now?
I really do think that the academies will set you apart because of the nature of our school here. They make things hard, but for a reason, trying to push you, whether it is military, academics, athletically, and those are all the things that will carry with you whether you choose to serve 5 years or you serve as long as you possibly can, because they ensure that you are a leader who is ready to be enabled in all of those areas. And that's exactly what future jobs are looking for. That's exactly what, current positions in the military, they want you to be fully formed in that way, and the academy truly pours into cadets to make sure you are prepared for almost anything once you leave. And I couldn't imagine not graduating from here. I think about that a lot. If I would have quit as a freshman, I always had that what if in the back of my head, like what if I wouldn't have finished? And I really couldn't imagine my life without USAFA.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Lieutenant Marsh and Cadet Leitner, thank you for sharing your conversation with us. At this time, I would like to open the floor for questions. Attendees can ask questions at the microphones positioned in the audience. Sir.
Yes, as a fellow 7th Squadron graduate, I'd like to ask you this. What's life like at Harvard?
Not as hard as USAFA, I guess. I don't have people yelling at me, and I get to control my own schedule. So, it's been a really cool experience, to be honest. Over 50% of my program at the Kennedy School are international students. And so I've had the opportunity to kind of pick their brain. kids that have lived in China and talking about their experience with COVID or their thoughts on American politics has been so eye-opening. Or speaking to some of the kids that were from Mexico and talking about their thoughts on some of the conversations surrounding immigration. And it was really eye-opening getting to listen to their stories, because so often, obviously we're in America, so we hear a lot about our side, but hearing from a source and what their families experience was something that I really wouldn't have gotten elsewhere. And so it's been very beautiful, but not like the Academy, I guess.
Sorry, it's a little tall. Hi, I met you earlier, but as a fellow pageant person, I was wondering, what do you learn from other people that you meet in your system? Like, your sisters are coming here to see where you come from. So I wonder, what have you learned from their organizations or their personal life that you can instill into your own?
You know, all of the women were just so well-rounded, and I had recognized how much I had to learn from them. And that's the biggest thing. I hope some of y'all, if you see them tomorrow, you can pick their brains and kind of see how diverse the group is, and just seeing all these different walks of life, whether it might have been their family upbringing or maybe now their profession that they're in, and being able to ask them. And now I have a girl in every state that I can call to. I've got lawyers, I've got doctors if I need help. I mean, I've got a plethora of different people that have joined us, and so that was probably the biggest takeaway specifically from the Miss America opportunity.
Hello, my name is Caitlin McGarry, and my question was, what do you see in the future, like, you know, doing this Miss America? I mean, I don't know if it's like a tour or how that works, but what's like your 5-year plan, and what plans do you have, like, with your Air Force career as well?
So things are a little bit special this year because, like they had said, I'm the first military member to ever win the title, so we're having to do something a little bit different. I'll basically be traveling around almost 365 days a year to places all across the country. And that could be going to go visit with schools, or that could be working on my nonprofit, trying to get some new things in the work, whether it be research or different protocols that we can be enacting. And so that's one of the pieces specific to Miss America. But when it comes to the military, all of our high-up leaders have done a fantastic job. They've decided to keep me on active duty. And so while I'm on the road doing Miss America specific things, I'm also recruiting for the Air Force, being able to show them my story of what it meant to be a cadet, going now into the real Air Force, being an officer, and trying to talk to people about the opportunities that I've had, and hopefully getting them to join the Air Force, or at least considering the military. So I've got a bunch of different things trying to mesh in military, Miss America all at once, so it's very exciting.
Hello, ma'am. As a former NFL cheerleader from 2015 to 2019 and now a current staff sergeant, I feel like I have personally faced trials and tribulations in my Air Force career due to my past accolades. So my question to you is, what is your advice to other females in the military, whether they are enlisted or officers, who go through these same battles, and how can you overcome those adversities?
I feel like there's definitely been a lot of labels placed on me just because I compete in pageants. And I know that probably exists for a lot of other women in the military that don't even do pageants. And so the biggest thing that I would say is the only person's opinion that really matters at the end of the day is your own, because the only person that really knows your heart and your passions is you. And so there were a lot of times when I was going for things that people said I should just pick one thing, just pick one path. And I always knew that that wasn't really genuine to who I was, and so I didn't. And so I think if I would have listened to all of these outside thoughts of people trying to place me in these boxes of Madison needs to be this, Madison needs to be this, I never would have gotten to do all of the wonderful things that I've done today. And so be true to yourself, do what you want, because at the end of the day, you are the only one whose opinion really matters, because you know your heart, you know your worth and your passion, so continue on with whatever you love.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question.
Hi there, it's Victoria Baker. I had a similar question, and kind of part of that was answered, but would you say doing something challenging and unfamiliar is just as important as doing something you're passionate about and that you love?
Yes, I would say so, because there's so many things that you learn from doing something hard, whether it's something you like or not. And I think, especially in cadet experience, there are a lot of things that we do here that are just hard, and we might not like it a lot, but now being able to look back as a lieutenant now, seeing all of these things and how it had really grown me, whether it was the getting yelled at during basic, or maybe it was the hard physics test that I was dreading and sometimes failed, or maybe it was the people that you're having to learn to work with. Doing challenging things is important. And that's what allows you to grow. You shouldn't just stay in one place your whole life because it's what's comfortable. That doesn't help you. That doesn't help you lead better for those around you. So do the difficult things because you can only get better from there, and there's so much to learn. And once you learn from that, you can apply that and be better in the areas that you're passionate about.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Marsh, thank you again for your time today. Your experiences truly speak to how we embrace culture and empower people. On behalf of the U.S. Air Force Academy and our National Character and Leadership Symposium, please accept this gift as a token of our gratitude. The base is made from marble from the T-Zo. You definitely know the significance of this, and hopefully it doesn't bring back too many negative memories from your freshman year. We hope you will look back on this and remember your NCLS experience as a speaker fondly.
Oh, thank you so much. So cool. Thank you. Are we taking that? Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. All good? Okay. Sweet.
This concludes our session. We encourage you to stop by our testimonial booth on the south side of the Arnold Hall foyer, where you can record your overall thoughts on NCLS 2024. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.